Okay, so we're gonna be tearing apart these forks, get them all cleaned up and rebuilt. All right, so we got the forks off. We're gonna start taking them apart. You know, surprisingly, these are the original boots. They are in really good condition still. There is, I think this one has some, seems a little bit drier. I honestly could have used these. They're still really good condition. So I'll probably clean them up and honestly see if anyone will want them or sell them. But I'm always down to help out my buddy Curdy at 223 Cycles. So had to get these new boots from him. He sells these on his website. If you guys are curious, he has the blue ones out for sale too. So here's a comparison from the stock compared to his. These also fit 200X forks as well. So nice soft rubber, good quality rubber. We'll stretch this one out and it's pretty dang close to the same length when they're out. This one has a little bit more ribs in it, but really good replacement compared to the stock ones. I mean, these are pretty hard and starting to dry up a little bit, but I like them. I had the same Polysport boots on my 87 Big Red, fit for the size of the Big Red, of course, and these are really good. Preston on this little trike on his YouTube channel, check out his channel. He just cleaned up some Fat Cat fork boots, and they looked really good. He used his 303. I like to use Simple Green, and Simple Green works really good for rubber. Personally, I've used everything rubber. I just let it spray it, let it sit, and then kind of rub it into it and let it soak, and it actually helps keep the life of anything rubber. I do that for a lot of the rubber things on the SX as well. So before taking off, when it was in the triple tree clamp, I did crack loose this top nut / bolt there. Looking this over, I have yet to deal with these kind of forks. I know we got the screw down there that holds the dampening rod in. There's also this screw on the end right here. I'm not sure what that is for. I'm gonna look in my manual and see what that is for, if it's a drain or it needs to be cleaned up on the outside before we take it all off. I don't want to get anything dirt or anything that's on the outside into the inside while taking it all apart. So we're gonna clean this thing up. So I'll confirm in the book, there is nothing in the Honda shop manual about this screw. I'm guessing it's just a drain, so if you want to drain it out, if it's still in the machine, just replace the fluid. We'll take it off maybe, or just leave it. We'll see what it does. But it says nothing in the manual of needing to take it out. We got our all cleaned up. We're gonna take the top cap off, which is gonna release a lot of the fluid as well as the springs. If you guys are curious, it's a 22 millimeter wrench or socket, wherever you can get in there. I didn't have a wrench, so I used my socket. There's the cap. Out comes spring. There is nothing, oh, that's nasty. There's like nothing left of this stuff. And man, oh man, it smells nasty. Once after we get the fluid all out, now it's time to bring it to the vise. And we're gonna take the Allen bolt out. We're gonna loosen up crack loose the dampening rod. So this process, upon doing this, very similar to a lot of machines. The Big Red's the same way pretty much. Except for the top is different, I believe. I don't think there's a big cap on the top. I could be wrong. This setup is very similar to what our pit bikes are like, our CRF 110s. So it should be relatively simple of how to figure out how it actually all goes in. The best way that we found out to crack these loose is if you get an Allen socket like that, use an impact to try to help break it loose rather than using a wrench and sit there and spin. Get it break loose. now I can take the fork out. Yep, there we go. So it did come out. It was just sitting there spinning, so I thought it was still kind of bound up. So there you got your dampening rod right there. Next to your fork. And you got the fork body, the tube. There shouldn't be anything else inside there. Take the dampening rod out. Right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and just start cleaning up all these parts. Look how milky it is. No good. We'll get some new fluid and some new seals in there and just use them to be ready to roll. A couple things I forgot to mention. There is this spacer that goes in between the springs when you take it out. So make sure you do not lose the spacer right there. That is pretty much just a drain right there. So makes life simple. You don't have to take everything out in order to drain the fluid, but relatively when you rebuild your forks, you want to take everything out and clean it all up. All right, to take the top seal out, you can use a screwdriver or just use a pry bar. I had the pry bar handy. And then you're going to have a clip in there that you need to take out that holds the oil seal in. Pick. Again, you can use a screwdriver if you want. There's 2 open ends to take each side out. There you go. There's your clip. And then next you take your oil seal out, and you gotta be very careful taking these out to not scratch the walls. If you do scratch the walls when taking these out, that leads to more leaking on your forks. And there's your oil seal. And there is a spacer that's inside here as well. You don't need to take that out. Just go ahead and clean it all up. I'm gonna take some parts cleaner, clean these tubes up. I'm gonna take the tubes. Usually what I've done in the past, like the Big Red, is I repainted these. After a lot of abuse, riding and whatnot, as you can see how this one's, how gunked up it is, it's just gonna get worse. The paint that I used worked really good, but another thing I seen worked is taking a wire wheel or wire brush to it. So I'm gonna take it to my wire wheel, my bench grinder, clean it all up, make her look nice again. Okay, we are ready to put everything back together. I took the wire wheel to this. If you take it too long, you'll start to see a little bit of like discoloration. I lightly took it in some spots just to kind of help clean it up a little bit. I kept the original Showa sticker on there. When taking it all apart and cleaning the top area, this spacer did come out. So I'll show you guys how it goes in. Crown up, sits inside there like that. Right from 223 Cycles, dust seals, the whole rebuild kit you can get from there. Gotta thank and love our sponsor. I come to find out this is called a slider. So you put that ring inside there. Next one, you put your seal in. You gotta make sure you coat it in some fluid. It actually says ATF in the book. I thought it was transmission fluid, but maybe they changed it. So you use ATF fluid. I am using Maxima fork oil. I'm using 15 weight for this. And you want the seal markings up. So you got like a deep end and you got a shallow end. Shallow end's gonna face towards the top. It says put it in with a seal driver. Well, we don't got one of those. If you lubricated it good enough, it should be able to go in. If you have a large enough socket, you can use a socket to help drive it in. You may ask, Slick, why are you using a socket instead of a punch? Well, if you use a punch, you're hammering in one spot, then you gotta go the other. You know, you can get it going all the way around like that, like you do with bearings and whatnot. If you get a socket, you're doing the same amount of punch on each side. And then when you can see that little groove inside there, that's where that snap ring sits. So once you get that seal, the oil seal sitting in there, put your snap ring back in. And then before you put your top dust seal in, lubricate the seal again. Pops right in. It's like that. Your bottom bolt for your dampening rod, there is a copper washer. Make sure to inspect that, make sure it looks pretty good. You do have a little like nylon or like plastic seal washer there with your spring, and also this part on the top of it. And that's where your bolt threads in to the bottom. Let's try and figure out how it goes. So I got that one collar that's inside there already. The bolt is in place as well. Got the dampening rod with everything inside it. So we're gonna put this sucker in, see if we can line it up. And the orientation does go large spring, washer / spacer. Got it in. This is where this kind of helps out a little bit. Couple ugga-duggas, small spring, and then slide the tube up. As far as you can go. Now we gotta put the fluid in. So I have this measuring cup. It's a Camtech measuring cup, ratio right. So it needs 6.8 ounces. Almost equals up to 7 if you really want to be specific, but I put just about 7 because it only goes 6 and 8, and you literally just pour in the oil from the top right there, the fluid. Okay, once you have your fluid in at your top cap, this is where it can get tricky because you need to push up on the fork, because if you push down, you can push the whole thing down, then your springs are going to come sliding up. And try to catch your threads. There's fine threads on this. You can use an open piston ratchet, or you can use the socket, whatever you may choose. There is a torque spec for this. 11 to 22 foot-pounds, if you really want to know. And that is it. That is how you rebuild a fork on 250SX. That same process, and all the parts and everything goes for a lot of different machines. Make sure you just inspect everything, make sure everything looks good, and that is about it. And then we can slide this new fork boot over top. It's perfect. There we go, folks. A rebuilt 250SX fork.